Good afternoon and welcome to Virtual Creation Studio here in Charlottetown. We're delighted to have Margaret Flood with us today, and she's going to be talking about different types of therapy. I guess the world is changing as far as the way we kind of look at different needs, and Margaret is a phenomenal expert on different types of therapies, and we'll talk about that and what she's doing. She's located in York, PEI. So welcome, Margaret, and thank you very much for coming in.
Great to be here.
That's good. So your website is called Bridging Your Worlds.
Yes.
Yes. So it's bridgingyourworlds.com. We're going to put a link to all of Margaret's stuff and the website and the different types of therapies in the links below. So Bridging Your Worlds is kind of what? So
Okay, like why that name?
Yeah, why that name?
Well, because we do live in many worlds, not just here. There's a world beyond us. There's an unseen world, and sometimes people refer to that as the heaven world,
Yeah.
or the spirit world. And there's also maybe like the past worlds that we lived in. So we live in many different places. And in order to be whole, that we have to be able to connect to all parts of ourselves, which includes those maybe other lives we had lived or lives that we were growing into, the
Right.
person that we want to be, the person that we are healing and growing into to become.
So it's very spiritual.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think our life is spiritual. Everything is spiritual.
Yeah, that's really incredible. I mean, most people, nothing against traditional medicines where you go in and try to heal things and they give you a whole bunch of drugs, and
Right.
Which some people might enjoy those drugs. Just throwing that out there. So you're more of a holistic kind of approach.
Yes. So there's the premise that we're all energy. Everything is energy. Everything can be broken down into its energetic components, and that includes us.
Okay.
And so these different modalities that I work with, I would refer to them as energy work or energetic.
Okay.
And so if our issues or our wounds are created energetically, and they exist within our energetic life, in our bodies in particular, then they can be healed energetically as well. And there's many different ways of approaching that.
So when you're talking about energy, so say from a biblical standpoint, when they talk about spirits and stuff like that, that would be kind of an energy as well. Would that be kind of what you're referring to? Is that spiritual realm, or is it more of an energy that we all have? Like some people are saying these auroras around people are different energy levels. Would that be?
That would be an aspect of it. So when we talk about spirit, like with the capital S, then some people, depending on your orientation or what you believe in, then that could be God. Mm-hmm. It could be spirit, could be creator. It could be sometimes referred to as the all or source. So it's just whatever word takes on meaning for you. And so it's not necessarily a religious thing. Well, it isn't a religious thing, but it could be if that's how you see the world. That there's something beyond us. There's something bigger, more greater than us, and that we're all connected. We're all connected in that.
Okay. So somebody comes to you for counseling. So you try to connect what they're going through with how it can be healed on a spiritual level, or dealt with, maybe not healed.
Okay, well, the aim would be to heal, and then so I guess instead of what the difference in most of these therapies is that there's less talking and more being, that get the person to get back to themselves. Start like physically how they're feeling within their body, like maybe do a scan, and are you aware of any kind of aches or pains or gaps or just something that you didn't notice before, and then those the way you feel you feel for it that way for a reason. It's not just random. There's something about it. Okay. And so for someone who's coming for help because they're unhappy in their life or they feel unfulfilled, then there's a lot of cues and clues that are in their physical body. So if they have like maybe their shoulders are up or there's a tension there, then I would get them to pay attention to that tension And then as they do that, they'll start to notice something else about it, and they'll go deeper into it. When they put their sole focus on it, and that's the reason why they're there, so now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
So if you put your whole focus on that tension, then you're going to notice that maybe it feels hot, or maybe it feels tight, or maybe it reminds you of something, and maybe there's something coming into your mind of something that happened. So just going further into it and trying to find, well, where did it begin? And it often begins back at home with mom and dad.
Yeah.
It's been my experience, unless there's been some kind of trauma later on in life, that most issues that people have started with mom and dad.
Okay. So when we talk about therapies, we're talking about different types, and Margaret kind of specializes in 3 types. So we'll talk about each one of those maybe a little bit differently. So I'm going to try, if I pronounce it wrong, which I've been known to do.
All right, I'll correct you.
So there's Gestalt Therapy, there's Shamanic Therapy, or Ceremonies, and then there's Reiki Therapy.
Reiki. Yes.
I always say that wrong.
You do.
Anyways, and I'm going to have to go to Margaret to figure out why I keep on saying that wrong. But let's stop with Gestalt Therapy. That's very popular. Not so much in PEI. We haven't heard it a lot. But when I used to live in New Brunswick and in Nova Scotia, there was a couple of counselors that used to deal with that exclusively. They were very, very good. And that was a long time ago. But so talk about Gestalt Therapy and why, it's so popular, and what that means to you.
Okay, so Gestalt Therapy it's basically a talk therapy. It's more than that, but there's more talking in that than there is, say, in the Shamanic Journey or in the Reiki. And the intention of Gestalt is to get the person to just become responsible for themselves in their life, that they stop blaming other people, they stop making excuses, they stop looking around for some reason why they can't do something. And so the end goal or the outcome is that you become responsible for yourself in your environment, and that you create the environment that's going to bring the best outcome for you, that's going to make you the best that you can be. And so it usually starts, and I've already mentioned this a little bit, it usually starts with just the person physically paying attention to their body and just being aware of what's there. And there's and then going deeper and deeper and deeper into more layers, and it often takes you into the past then of, why do you have that tension in your shoulder? What is that fear about? Why do you have that cough? Like, why is your foot going up and down like it is? So it's an exploration in the present moment. That's another a landmark of Gestalt, that is done in the present moment.
Okay.
And if the past is relevant, you bring it into the present moment. And the same thing, if the future is relevant, you bring it into the present moment. And so it's only in the present moment that you can know who you are, that you can experience yourself as you are. And when you have that awareness of who you are, then you have choices. And you don't have a choice until you have awareness, till you know what you're doing, till you know what your thoughts are. Then you don't have a free choice to do what's best for you. You often hear people say, well, I couldn't do that because they made me do it. Or, oh, that was so hard, I just couldn't possibly do that. Or things just don't work out for me. Well, I don't know why. So kind of underneath that is how would I put that? It's like the person has kind of given up on making their own choices. They've given up on knowing, on paying attention to know what's right for them. It's often out of fear or out of conditioning. That, as a child we learn that mom and dad aren't happy if we're crying, or mom kind of looks the other way if we ask too many questions. And so even though a child doesn't have the consciousness to understand the big picture of what's going on, they can feel, like through their body and with their emotions, they can feel, oh, that was wrong, or that wasn't good. And then pretty soon they start to feel like, well, oh, I'm wrong, I'm not good. And then that's how they keep on, and then that's what their life becomes. And it's often, sometimes people go into therapy or go looking for answers when they're younger, but I find generally people are, 40, 50, 60, 70 even, before they start to realize, I'm just not happy. I just don't like the way my life is going. Surely it could be better than this. And of course it can be if you choose
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah. But until you have the awareness of what's going on, then of yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your physical self, then there's no way through until you have an awareness of yourself.
Well, and it's really important to deal with that because just because it's make your life better, but more importantly, if you're holding on to all this stuff, this negative stuff, and you do see it, men and women, they hold on to the craziest things. But what happens, I find, anyways, is that they seem to pass that down to their children, and if it's not stopped here, then there's a good possibility that the children are going to pick up.
It's going to keep on going.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's got to stop it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just.
But the parents don't know any better. I mean, I don't think that their intention is to harm their children. They just know what they know. And often what they know is not enough for the child.
Now, are you finding most of your clients are younger, middle-aged, older?
Well, that's kind of changing a little bit these days. I have some younger clients and more men than before. Time was they were older women, like in their 60s, that they're divorced or widowed or, they're retired and their children are gone. And I guess in some ways you've got time on your hands at that point. And once all those distractions are gone, you're just left with you.
Yeah.
And so, am I happy with me, or what's going on with me? And two, as you get older, and you turn around and realize, there's more years back there than there is in front. And if I'm not happy, will I ever be happy? If I'm not content, can I change that? I've only got, maybe another 20 years, and so maybe it's time to do something about that. And I also find too that older people, that sometimes their children will encourage them to try and go and get some help or go talk to somebody.
Really, really close friend of mine, and he comes into the office all the time. I think the world of him, but when he comes in, he's very down on himself, I guess. He's made some errors, and it really does affect his children because they don't visit him anymore, because that energy is pretty deep. It's really noticeable.
Yeah.
And you can't blame. You can say, the children are horrible for not visiting them, but after a certain amount of time, right. They just go,
It only takes so much, yeah.
So I think that the Gestalt therapy is more a relationship with oneself, right, to try to improve that.
Well, I would say they all are. That's because you're who you've got.
Yeah.
You don't have anybody else. And so there's just different ways of approaching it.
No.
But I guess I would say that the Gestalt is more, because there's more talking involved, it's maybe more obvious that it's about you.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Well, like I say, again, we're going to put a link to the Gestalt Therapy on Bridging Your World's website in the links below. And the second one, Shamanic. I want to put an A in there because there is an A in there. Shamanic Ceremonies. Now, you visited Peru quite a bit as well.
I haven't been there a few times.
I know that this particular ceremony is very popular down there. So if somebody comes to you for the Gestalt therapy and you know 100% that there's something there, would you kind of incorporate the Gestalt, the talking part, and then say, well, maybe we'll try, another level? So do you incorporate the two?
Yeah, it's kind of easy to do. I find that when people decide that it's time for some kind of help or intervention, when they started to search a little bit deeper, that it's a scary place to be, because you spent a good part of your life avoiding all those emotions or all those thoughts or all those feelings, and so. But at the point where you decide you're going to go and ask for some support, some assistance, then sometimes it's easier, I find anyways, that with people it's easier to start out just talking because they all know how to talk. And they're all familiar with their stories. They're all familiar with things that have happened. So it's easy to start talking, and I just try to get them to see what happened to them from a different point of view, put a different perspective on that. And then once they get comfortable with going a little bit deeper and recognizing that there's nothing really wrong with pain, that it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be angry, then they maybe start to feel a bit safer within themselves, and then to bring in any of the shamanic journeys or ceremonies, it just allows them to go deeper. So it's a good gateway, I find, one into the other.
Yeah, it makes sense. So you'd normally start at Gestalt or some combination of both to really get in touch with what the issue is and how to resolve it.
Yeah, unless the person specifically asks they want to do a ceremony. Like they come, they say, I want to do a ceremony and this is my issue, and so then that's what we do. But most people don't do that.
Yeah. But they probably would have had some type of knowledge of it in their...
People have a broad understanding, but it's more kind of from TV or books, and it's not like that at all.
Okay, that's cool. Well, like I say, they're very interesting, and I absolutely hate drugs. Just absolutely hate them. Not that I don't think they work, but I think sometimes if you try these type of therapies, they're more powerful because they actually fix whatever. Instead of trying to put a Band-Aid on it, come on in to see a psychiatrist and let's put a Band-Aid on it and this drug will fix it for the short term. I find, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Margaret, but these are more of a holistic to actually fix the problem as opposed to getting a prescription for a particular medication and maybe you might need that, but it's like going to a doctor or versus a naturopath.
So you're always looking for the root cause. You want to heal the root cause. So everything else is a symptom, like strong emotions or bad decisions or bad relationships. They're all symptoms, and they're pointing towards something. Yeah. So I'm always looking for the root cause. Where did it start? What's it about?
And at the end of the day, I think that's, like I say, it's. I've known people that have gone through these two therapies, and the difference that they had in just their mannerisms, the way they interacted, it was so amazing that it was very noticeable that, and they weren't drugged out per se. And I'm not knocking people that, psychiatrists that use drugs. I'm not. But when they fix whatever that needs to be fixed, it's very, very noticeable in their everyday lives. And that's what I notice from the people that I've talked to that went through these two things. And it really is noticeable because they're more calmer, they've dealt with whatever they have to deal with, but they've dealt with it and then moved on. Mm-hmm. So as my wife would say, let it go, move on.
So what brings that about is that the person has come to accept themselves for who they are, accept their life for what it has been, and that they've come to love themselves. That most people don't.
No,
most
you're
people
100%.
don't. They spend a lot of time chasing out there, looking for things that will make them feel good or look good or be acceptable. But it's really, who needs to accept you is you. Who needs to love you is you. Yeah. And no one will ever love you as deeply as you do. And so when whatever the issue might be, when it comes to not so much fix, but comes to a resolution, like you use the word healing, but a healing is like a resolution. And so now you can see what happened in a different perspective, different point of view. And there's kind of an expression that things don't happen to you that make you suffer. Things happen either for you or through you, so that you have something, there's a lesson or a teaching to be learned.
It sounds very easy, but it's extremely hard to come to that point.
Yes, because you have to give up your old beliefs. You have to give up your old way of thinking. Often you have to give up maybe some of your old friends. And no, it's not easy because you have to let go of that pain. And people like holding on to their pain because it gives them an excuse not to do.
No, and it's like I say, it's always easier to say that and say, oh no, just let it go. But sometimes you need people like Margaret to guide you, not so much help you, but to really guide you into getting to that result. And especially, it's so important to talk to people that are trained, especially in these things, to get to that point of realization. And then when you get there, you can probably do it yourself, but the reality is, it's always, if you're going through a jungle, it's always better to hire a local guide. So I'm just saying, you can get to Cavendish Beach, but it's much easier if you hire the local tour guide. So it is very good, but it's extremely powerful, and it works exceptionally well. And we're really, really pleased to be involved with Margaret, and we just we couldn't stress enough how important and how good her work is. It's extremely good. The third one I'm not very familiar with.
Right.
So this one, this one's kind of new to me. I've never heard of it. Well, it's become unpopular, but I haven't really. When Margaret explained it to me about a year and a half ago, I was like, I couldn't even pronounce it. So, but it's called Reiki. Reiki, and it's kind of a new, but maybe I'll just leave it in your capable hands of what Reiki is and how it works and why it's becoming so popular.
Well, maybe part of the popularity is that it's easy to do, and it works. It absolutely works. So it's energy work, and it's essentially it's a Japanese relaxation technique. Like at its simplest, that's what it is. And there's again in the energy world, there's a belief that our sicknesses or our lack of health comes from stress. And it can be stress on all different levels. And that if our body is relaxed and healthy, then if stress comes along, you're not going to take it on, you're not going to take it in.
Okay.
And that is the stress that disrupts your system.
So it's like a stress guard.
Yeah, it's like a stress guard. You could say that, yes. Well, you don't spray it on.
You don't spray it on. So it's not like right guard or left guard, it's a stress guard.
And
so,
it came from Japan originally, and there's a whole story about that. But anyways, part of the belief of Reiki is that everybody, everybody contains that Reiki within them. Everybody has it. It just has to be tapped. It just has to be opened up or realized. And
sort of would it be like back when we were kids, not that long ago, just kidding. But we used to do kind of like a meditation, and it was very, very popular, and I still do it from time to time. But so is it sort of like a kind of a meditation?
Well, kind of. I guess the person that's receiving. So the person that they call them Reiki masters. The person that is administering or giving, offering the Reiki. They have had. It's not a long, big, extensive training. It's pretty short, actually, considering. So the training is just about how to open up to have that Reiki opened up within you, and then there are hand placements. So the person, if it was you, you'd be lying on a massage table. Exactly, you'd be lying on a massage table, and there might be music, there might be candles, might be dim light. Like it's you try to set up an relaxing atmosphere. So the person lies down, and
so it's a physical.
Yes, it's a physical thing. Yes, it's a physical thing. Yeah. So then I believe there are 13 hand poses, like traditionally taught. There's lots of offshoots, but traditionally taught, there are 13 hand poses that go from the top of your head down to your feet, and then in your ears, the back of your head, all the way down to your feet, and then on your back as well. There's another couple more, 2, 3 more positions there, and so. As the practitioner is sending the Reiki, there's it can be felt. Like if I were to do it on you, you would feel it.
Oh,
like
okay.
you would physically feel it. And people sometimes feel heat, or sometimes they feel cold. And if there's a particular, you don't have to have an issue to start it. Some people do, but it's not needed at all. People just want to relax.
Okay.
And so the Reiki goes through. The Reiki has its own mind. The Reiki has its own consciousness. And it has an understanding of what this person needs as it goes through that person's body. And so will it address if there's maybe tension in their shoulder, then it will address that. Or if there's a pain in their knee, it'll address that. And it's also working at the root cause of whatever that pain is from.
So you're a Reiki master, right?
That's what, yeah.
So, when I was down in Punta Cana, just from vacation, I went into the massage therapist at the hotel, and they had these stones.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Whatever, and there was a massage therapy with stones. It was actually really kind of cool. Yeah. But anyways, they put the stones on my head, my shoulders. So I'm not saying that that's Reiki, but is that kind of the same principle?
Well, so Reiki by itself doesn't use stones, but you could if you were familiar with how to work with crystals or with stones and knew where to put them, and you could do that. But it's the same in the sense that it's energy work, so that those stones carry energy and a consciousness as well. And so it's being offered to you, and the practitioner often works on intuition, where they decide where those stones need to go, where it would best help you, and what stones in particular you might need.
Okay.
But it's all energy work, so it's the same in that way.
Well, I know. I come out, energized and
Probably very relaxed.
Well, I was. I didn't yell at the people as much as I normally do. So
you should go back and have another treatment, I think. You don't want to be yelling at all.
Oh, really? Okay. Gosh, I'm Irish. I don't think that's physically possible, but that's okay. I'll work when I do that. I'm going to go to Margaret Flood at bridgingyourworlds.com and get that all repaired. But the Reiki though is it's more of a physical more so than a.
Well, you don't talk. It's not a talk thing. You don't talk during it. And so the practitioner, as I said, often your hands get warm. Like you call, there's a setup for the practitioner to call in the Reiki, to have it come to be present and to be, to be to help the person for their highest good, for whatever it is that they need. And so the call in the Reiki, it shows up. It always shows up because it wants to help. It's a very helpful energy. And then me as a practitioner, I'm not doing the work like in all of these, like in the shamanic training ceremonies too. It's not me. It's a process. It's a process, and it flows through me. It comes from another place, but it flows through me, and it's always for the person's best good.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, like I say, we are going to put the links to all of these down below, and we would certainly encourage you if you want to, get in touch or help with stress or help with different emotional things that might be going on in your life, or maybe you just need to look at things from a different perspective. It's always great to try something new, and these therapies and these ceremonies and Reiki, they're designed to get in touch with you as an individual and as from a spiritual level, and maybe allow the traditions to heal you and to put things in different perspectives. So we would definitely encourage people to reach out to Margaret. She's, like I say, she's on PEI. She's one of the few really highly trained people in each one of these categories, and it might be for you. I think you do consultations with people if they have questions.
Mm-hmm, yep.
So how does that work? Do you charge like a fee for that?
Not for that. No, because usually people just say, "I don't really know anything about that. Sounds interesting. Can you tell me what it's about?" So we just generally we just talk on the phone, or they might come just for a short visit. So just before because maybe it's not what they want.
Yeah.
Maybe it is, but maybe it's not what they want.
So consultations are free. No, but if you do have questions on these type of things or whatever, now in the website there are different books and resource links available that you might want to reach out and read about. But then again, if you want to have just a conversation about these type of things, phone Margaret or send her an email or contact her and set up a time to discuss those things. But as always, we're here at Virtual Creation Studio. We love having small business owners coming in and talking about what they do and why they do it. And Margaret Flood is a fantastic human being. We like to tease her when she comes in, and she always takes it really well. And other than that, we love having her. So it's all good. So we recommend going bridgingyourworlds.com.
Something I would say is that everybody's life matters. Like your life matters, my life matters. Everybody's lives matter. And if you're feeling not happy in your life or not content, then there's no reason to stay that way just because it's the way you always felt, or you feel like you can't figure things out, that you deserve the life that you've come here to live.
Yeah, and life is so short. Like it's a tiny, minuscule amount in the history of time. So if there is something that you're holding on to, let it go. And maybe allow Margaret to work with you to allow to it's like a freedom thing. Somebody once told me that forgiveness, if you're holding on to, I don't know, an old wound, the ex-girlfriend didn't go out on a date with me when I was 12 years old, that if you hold on to that stuff, it does more harm to you than it does to that other person. And if you just let it go and forgive or whatever you have to do, then you're actually doing yourself the biggest favor in life by helping yourself.
Always.
Always. So, and I got that from reading the links from Margaret's website, bridgingtheworld.com. So there you go. So no, we thank you very much for coming in. It was great, and we look forward to, if there's next time you come in, we can talk about something else. But for now, we wanted to kind of on these 3 particular therapies. So
there's so much more to be said.
Oh, 100%.
So much more to be said, yeah.
But we got limited time, of course. But anyways, we certainly appreciate if there is next time you come in, we can maybe talk about a particular subject and go in a little bit more in depth. But for now, we thank you. Margaret Flood, bridgingyourworlds.com.